Where do you think I am? I'm in the middle of a vineyard. I thought I'd show you something a little different today. Look at this. Everywhere I look, there's grapes. Now these particular grapes, see all the wires that are holding these up in the nice long rows? And that's how they train these particular grapes. If you look on here, you see most of the stems are still here, but most of the grapes have been removed. Now, how do you suppose they did that? They did that with an automatic, a gas-powered machine, and it runs across here, and it's got legs that straddle each one of these rows, and it shakes the vines, and then it shakes most of the grapes right off. All of the ones that are ready to come off, it shakes off. Now obviously you're going to have a few that are going to remain. You're not going to get every single one off of here, but it shakes them off, and then you don't have to pick them by hand. And other grapevines you end up picking by hand. It just kind of depends. You know, those machines are about $250,000 or so, and if you don't have that much, you just do them by hand. Now my friend, he's got 4 or 5 different crews, and they usually do everything. They cut everything by hand and they load it up, kind of like how I showed you a little bit before. But it just depends what his customer wants. If it's a flatland area, and if they want the machines, and he just has a couple friends and he subs it out to them to pick it all for him, you know. And then he runs other crews and they pick them by hand. And certain bushes or grapevine, I guess you would call it a bush, certain ones require to be cut by hand, you know, if it's not all strung up like this. Because sometimes you go to a vineyard and you see other bushes and they're just individual ones, and they're kind of strung out all over the place. They've already actually been trained that way, and that's a different type of grape, and those you would have to pick by hand. Certain things I'm kind of learning, because I've talked to my friend a little bit about the wine business now, and not a whole lot, you know. I just asked him a few different questions, and I wanted to give you some different information just in case you were kind of wondering about grapes and stuff, you know. Or hey, if you got a lot of money and if you want to buy a vineyard, maybe you want to buy a vineyard but you don't know anything about a vineyard, but you want to huff and puff and tell your friends that you own a vineyard. You know, hey, there are those types of people out there. And or if you just want to have somebody run your vineyard, you can. And that's what my friend does. He manages other people's vineyards. So again, you want more information about that, you can contact me and I'll put you in contact with him. Now what are these sprinklers up here for? See that? There's a sprinkler head right there. That's not really to water the whole vineyard. You see this black pipe down here? That's what actually waters it. And that's on a timer, and they go off every, who knows how often, you know. Here you still see the water where that one kind of had dripped from before. And I asked him, I said, hey, how come some places have big, huge fans and in other vineyards you don't see the big fans? He says, well, we've got a lot of water here. They got the Russian River that's fairly close by, so they've got lots of water, and they run up these sprinklers. So when it gets really super cold and they think frost is gonna affect their vines, they run sprinklers, and that keeps everything kind of wet and moving around enough so it's not going to get frost and it's not going to damage the vines as much. So they run sprinklers. I never knew that. Now Video Joe knows, and so do you. I think I'm in a particular vineyard. What was he saying? I think it was 136 acres. Row after row after row. They just go on forever, it seems like. Now, why did I have to get up so early this morning? 3 o'clock in the morning? That's when they started. Sometimes they start even earlier than that. And the reason why they do that, they don't work, you know, until 5 o'clock at night or in the afternoon or whatever. They do everything in the morning because then if they start picking too late in the day, too late meaning 8, 9 o'clock in the morning, and then if they work till 5 o'clock or something, it gets too hot, and that affects the overall flavor and the sugar content of the grapes before they get to the vats, and before they can get it off the truck and all that. You know, just a little bit of a degree difference matters. That's why lots of this gets harvested at night or real early in the morning before the sun comes up. Now the sun's up now, and they still got a few more hours of picking, and that's really not going to affect it that much. But if they wait too late, then it will. Okay, now you know. Let me tell you, harvesting is quite the process. It's not just as easy as, okay, go out there and pick these grapes from that row way down there to this row way over here. And then tomorrow we're gonna do all this stuff over here. No, they have different inspectors go out and they test the grapes and they mark out which ones they want picked today and which ones they want picked tomorrow, and so forth and so on, because the ground here may be different than the ground over here, and that affects the grapes. And so it's quite the procedure. He's got 3 or 4 crews out, and he's got to run back and forth from one group to the next and back and forth, and they may only pick, you know, 15 tons in this area, 15 tons in this area, and then move over to another vineyard and pick another 40 tons there, and then over to another area, so forth and so on throughout the morning. So he's got to be here to oversee everything, and it makes sense. You can't just leave somebody at one spot and assume everything's going to go just right. You know, just like contracting. When I used to be a contractor, subbing out to different trades, you can't just leave them there all day because something goes wrong and everything gets out of whack. So he oversees everything. He does a really good job at it. Hey, so I'm in the little town of Geyserville, and there's just one street here. This is pretty much the whole main town strip. It's not very big. And he's getting breakfast for all of his guys. Isn't that kind of nice of him? You know, he's got about 50 workers out there. He's got 4 or 5 different crews today. And once a week or so, he picks them all up, breakfast burritos and coffee and stuff, to keep them happy, I guess. Just a little fringe benefit of working for him. I thought that was kind of cool. That's all I got for this time, but I'll be back with more videos.